Manchester City 1, RB Leipzig 1. An away draw in the first leg of the Champions League last 16. Strange night of football. A genuinely strange night of football. And hard to make real sense of that, if I'm being totally honest. It started off reasonably positive. It was a pretty decent first half. We kind of went through the motions in that the way that we have in the last few games. You know, signs of Manchester City of old returning. And it looked pretty decent. Honestly, we looked all right. We got the goal. We 1-0 up. A good capitalisation on a mistake from RB Leipzig. Nice little pass from Grealish. Lovely little flick from Gundogan. Riyad Mahrez being Riyad Mahrez in a Champions League night scoring. And we probably should have pressed home our supremacy at that point, because RB Leipzig were terrified. They were scared of Man City, playing within themselves, and City were full control. And then the second half, we just sort of lost our way, if I'm being totally honest. A frustrating game in the end. It really was a frustrating game of football. And look, I can't teach Guardiola how to suck eggs. I'm not going to do that, man. He obviously knows more about football than I would. He's forgotten more about football than I know. You know, in general, this guy knows so much about football, but he's a bit frustrating sometimes. Like, I was watching as a City fan towards the end, thinking, where are the substitutions, man? Like, I know this is a thing that Pep does every now and then, and sometimes I actually get it. I sort of get it and defend it. But there's some days where you're like, I just don't understand it, I guess. He doesn't owe me an explanation, I guess, but some days I really don't understand the logic behind the lack of substitutions, because I want to know what we're doing, really. I want to know what the thought process is, because I'm just curious as a Manchester City fan, as a football fan, why, when City aren't controlling the ball and we're not really doing anything with it, which we aren't, and we're losing a lot of territory and we're conceding many chances, and largely Leipzig are the better team, why are we just like acting as if it's all right? You know what I mean? It feels that that's what it is. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's how it feels, which is, I guess, why my plea is to anyone in the comments, or Pep, if you're watching. Love you, Pep, by the way. I really do, genuinely. But I want to know, like, I just want to understand it. Like, why do we, when we're clearly not playing that well, and the game's clearly become so transition-based, which it has, by the way. City were the most dangerous in the last 20 minutes of that game, when we were sort of reacting on the counter. Why are we not just bringing Phil Foden on? Or Alvarez, because Haaland couldn't get a touch. You know, but Phil Foden was crying out for that game, I reckon. Like, he was great the other day against Forest. I know he messed up that 1-on-1, but largely his contribution was excellent. We probably got no one better on a transitional dribble than Phil Foden turning away from someone. And the game was so Bundesliga in the end, so open, so pacey, that just play to the game's strengths. Bring on Phil Foden, let him run at people, and maybe we get something there. I don't know, man. I don't stand it. Or at least we change the system to go a little bit more solid and try and retain the ball. But none of that really happened, and we just sort of coasted through the game and then drew, and we could have ended up losing, but we were all right, and it just ended up on a whimper. Now, of course, 1-1 away in the Champions League with the away goal is not a bad result. I do suspect we'll get the job done at the Etihad. I'm sure when we got the likes of Stones hopefully back, De Bruyne, Laporte, whatever, the home crowd behind us, I'm sure we'll have enough to get through the game, and ultimately that is all that matters. But you do watch that and you get frustrated, don't you, as a fan? You want to see a little bit more control, a little bit more arrogance to our play. I guess you witness teams like Real Madrid last night taking apart Liverpool with a display of pure confidence and arrogance, and a performance that shows that they belong there, and just a directness and an aggressiveness to the forward play at times. And you watch City, and as much as I love him, and you think, I want to see that from us, man. I want to see that from us, because we can do that, and we have been there before, and right now we feel pragmatic. And it was a very pragmatic Manchester City lineup too. It really was. It was a lineup built to control, I would say, which is sort of why the second half was frustrating, because it didn't happen. But you look at the team in general, you know, Ederson in goal, but then we went for a back four, a midfield three, and a forward three. You're thinking, oh, this is very common sense on paper, until you realise it's actually a back three, kind of. Kyle Walker's sort of playing as a right winger. You've got Bernardo dropping between the defenders. Now, it was more or less still relatively traditional, but just Walker was getting forward. And but either way, it was a very pragmatic team, you know, defensively solid in theory. You know, Akanji, Diaz, Walker, Ake, just solid physical defenders, and then Bernardo alongside Rodri with Gundogan, they were there to control. Grealish and Mahrez, who both retain the ball so well when you don't want to lose the ball. Their ball retention is excellent, and of course Haaland in there to just be Haaland and hang around waiting for the ball, for being honest. But either way, the game was built to be pragmatic and control the opposition, and it did work at first, you know. And I don't mind that, by the way. I don't mind a little bit of pragmatism. I'm not saying go fucking hell for leather all the time. I understand that you can't always play in fifth gear. Sometimes you got to cruise. Sometimes you got to game manage. But that's the point. I want to see more game management reacting to it, I guess. And but I understand why we started how we did. But I still think we could have reacted a little bit more to how the game it became, if that makes sense. I felt like we were still playing the concept at the end of the game as we were at the start, and it felt very different at the end to how we started. To me, that's where we should have switched it around. But yeah, the team made sense given the lack of Laporte, De Bruyne, Stones. It made a lot of sense, really, and it was a decent team. It was a good team, and it worked, so to speak, until eventually, in the second half, we couldn't really put a few passes together. We had a couple of decent moments, a few half chances and whatever, but we didn't really kind of assert ourselves at all in the last 20 minutes in particular. We got sloppy. Their goal, it was coming. It was coming. Actually, it was deserved, if we're being honest. Though it potentially was a foul on Ruben Diaz. Maybe it was a foul, Jumped up, had his hand down, and the commentator's talking about a great leap there. I mean, it's easy to leap when you're on the shoulders of a 6'2" centre back. Let's be honest, man. The guy was fucking all over him. It was Vardial, wasn't it? That probably could have been a free kick, but I can't complain too much because I don't think we really deserved too much, if I'm being honest, at that point. I'm not saying, once again, by the way, we were abysmal. I'm just saying it felt like unfulfilled potential, that game. It really did. Ederson had a decent game, by the way. I know everyone likes to moan about Ederson these days, but he had a few good saves and he was all right. He was actually all right. So fair play to Ederson. And I don't mind, I don't mind drawing the game, but it's more that, once again, it's always the manner of the draw. It's how it actually happens, It's how it actually happens. There was a late penalty shout, by the way, where I don't think anything happened. Like, what happened to that late penalty shout? I don't think VAR even checked it. I've seen a replay on Twitter, and it does basically just hit his hand. And I mean, maybe his hand was there, but you think there would have been a bit more of a shout or a replay or something. I don't really know, but his hand's up. It's not down his side. And to me, that is potentially a handball. It should have been given potentially. But either way, things like that don't go Manchester City's way, do they? They go United's way, by the way, when they get a penalty after the fucking full-time whistle. But we don't get them. And if we're being honest, you probably would have missed it anyway. But either way, City tonight, we were okay. By the way, I'm just seeing right now, scrolling more and more, it's a really fucking blatant handball. We've been mugged there. So if you're watching the start of the video going, why is it mentioned the handball? It's because I only realised afterwards. I went to record this video as soon as full time hit. I hadn't seen the replay yet, and I'm just seeing it right now. I was looking for the stats. Oh man, it's clear fucking handball. It's a stonewall penalty. Anyway, result was pretty decent, but once again, it was all about how it came about. Pretty frustrating for me. Do I feel confident about this City team still? We're sort of showing our side to ourselves. I think there's still tweaks to be made, But the thing is, it was an okay performance. It wasn't a horrific performance, but I do wonder if it was just more of a Guardiola thing, Because, there's a theory going around that he hasn't got a strong assistant, that's not telling him what to do and all that kind of stuff. And as much as I love Pep, I do wonder. He's done some weird things this season. It really has, man. He's definitely been a little bit cranky, a little bit awkward here and there. And maybe that's justified. And I do fucking love him. But at the same time, you do sometimes wish there's someone telling him, Pep, get Alvarez on, man. Get Foden on. And someone please feed Erling fucking Haaland the ball. I'm sorry, when you've got a 6'5" guy who runs like an Olympic sprinter, if he starts fucking running, pass him the ball. And when I mean running, galloping. Erling Haaland was galloping a couple of times and we did not make any of those passes in behind. Pass him the ball. It's really that simple. He's a freakishly good athlete. And there was at times where he looked really frustrated, at Manchester City's players for not making the pass. And fair enough, man. I absolutely get it. He's too good to be walking around the pitch waiting for a pass and not really getting a touch. He had barely any involvement today, and that's not his fault at all. We've got to be better at finding him. A friend of mine once said recently, if Haaland's not going to get in touches and we're not going to play him the ball, is there any point in being on the pitch? And obviously the friend of mine was being a little bit facetious. But there's sort of an element of truth where if we're going to play like he's not there, should we just go with a false nine or Alvarez? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that should happen. But I get the logic behind that thought process. My solution wouldn't be to do that. It'd be to involve Haaland more, be more direct and make a way to find it. But to me, there is something to be said about that in general, Get Haaland involved. And then maybe we score, again. Or maybe we get a penalty at the end and he scores it. I don't fucking know. We would have missed it anyway. Who were we kidding? But overall, it was an okay game of football. Leipzig are a good side. They're always going to have moments. I've got no problem with Leipzig having moments in general. They are a good side. And this idea that, we can expect nothing from Leipzig and that there won't be any difficult moments. He's never going to really fully wash. But we have to take our chances, at least take our opportunities, if that makes sense. What the game presents. And the game presented a chance for Man City to not kill the tie up, but at least get a second goal or something like that. And we didn't really press home our territorial advantage. Anyway, they're my thoughts about it. Guys, do let me know down in the comments what you make of this, of course. No live video. I was too tired. I thought I'd just get a video, upload it, and so on. Let me know down in the comments what you made of the game, how you're feeling about the handball, the non-handball. Who stood out for you as a performance. I thought Grealish was decent, by the way. I thought he had a good energetic game again. Mahrez, good goal. Couldn't really get involved much, Who else? Gundogan, he was all right. Bernardo had some lovely little moments. Defensively, we weren't too bad. Ake, he was all right, But that's my thoughts on the game. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Big love to all of you guys for helping support the channel. As always, I love you all loads. You're absolutely awesome. Have a wonderful night. And for tomorrow, 5 things learned.